and welcome to the Temple Mount podcast. I am Shogun. Today we have what I think will be a very interesting discussion that I've actually been meaning to have for a long time. And this is very much like conspiracy theory stuff. Very speculative, very extreme conspiracy theory that I actually take very seriously, and I've thought about it a lot. And I guess you could say it kind of ties into the Unified Conspiracy Theory series. But basically, I don't even know what to call it. It's like the doom portal theory. And essentially, the idea is that humans are actually going to use technology to create something equivalent to a portal to hell or a portal to an infernal dimension. And that either information, energy, matter, consciousness, or all of the above will be translated from that infernal dimension into the material dimension that we live in, with some outcome that could range from a malignant artificial intelligence entering into the world and taking control of technology to actual like demons from hell, like eating people, to the creation of a technological antichrist by the possession of a human host by a malignant artificial intelligence, or even the actualization of Satan and the fallen angels out of their hell in Tartarus or Gehenna into Earth through technological means. In other words, they being imprisoned in hell using humans and technology to attempt to jailbreak them to the Earth. Some variation of this. So before we get into it, please make sure you've joined the Temple Mount Discord server. And once you've joined the Temple Mount Discord server, please make sure you like, follow, share, subscribe. We are on YouTube, BitChute, SoundCloud, and Odyssey, and we have multiple channels with multiple episodes. So this is going to be an open discussion podcast. Everyone's encouraged to participate and speak freely. But I want to explain this theory and why it's not as like wackadoo crazy as it initially sounds. And basically what I want to do is tie together about 5 things. So one thing I want to begin with, which might seem like the most irrelevant thing, but is also kind of the best way to start, is called the Goddard tunnel opening ceremony. So I've already posted it several times in the general chat. It's called the Goddard tunnel opening ceremony. And it's like the largest tunnel ever created or whatever. And when they opened it, they did this thing called the tunnel opening ceremony. And you can still, if you look, it's hard to find. They kind of scrubbed it from the internet. You can still find this whole original thing. And I just want to ask you guys, keep an eye on the Craigbot. And if he disappears, tell me, because we don't want to lose the recording. Sometimes he drops out. So the tunnel opening ceremony is the most bizarre, satanic, occult fucking performance art you've ever seen in your life. There's goat-headed angels having sex with women and all-seeing eyes and like faces and hell. Like I can't even describe it. You just have to watch it. It's pure paganism. It's pure Satanism. It's all about opening this portal. And it's really, really fucked up and really pagan and really occult. And obviously, like, it's not necessarily bad to be pagan, which just means non-Christian, but this is like black magic stuff. And this is the Goddard tunnel opening ceremony in, I believe, Switzerland or Sweden. Well, why does that matter? It ties into the second thing, which is the Large Hadron Collider. The Large Hadron Collider, or Cern, right? The Cern symbol is 666. It's 3 6s. Is the Cern symbol, and they have a big statue of Shiva outside of it, and then Shiva is the god of destruction, and they have the quotation, I've become death, the destroyer of worlds, and they've literally staged a human sacrifice ritual at Cern, as well as a bizarre ritual dance. So outside of this like multi-billion-dollar research facility, they've done a mock human sacrifice, a weird mock ritual dance, and they have a statue of a Hindu god, all outside of Cern. And at Cern, they're trying to smash particles together to find the God particle, and they're trying to create wormholes to other dimensions. And supposedly, they have a plan for if they contact entities in these other dimensions. They have all these glass plates containing all this information that they're going to try and use to communicate. But the point is that CERN and the Large Hadron Collider represent the nuts and bolts technology that is being used to create access points to other dimensions, what we would call other dimensions. And those other dimensions can also have consciousnesses in them, spiritual, mental consciousnesses. So Part one is the Goddard tunnel opening ceremony, and you have to watch this on YouTube, and you have to watch it in the server. You have to watch it later and understand it and watch it symbolically. Part two is the Large Hadron Collider in Cern. You have to watch the mock human sacrifice. You have to watch the weird ritual dance they do. You have to study this device and what it does, and search for the God particle and how they're using it to create little micro wormholes and stuff like that. You need to look into Shiva and these kind of things. Then the third thing you need to look into is the D-Wave quantum computing system. So there's this guy called Geordie Rose, and Geordie Rose has done many podcasts that you can watch, not podcasts, but actually like university lectures or seminars. And you can actually see these presentations on YouTube. And he's giving them to university students at universities. And he's basically recruiting people to this project, but he's the CEO of D-Wave Quantum Computing. And they create these big black supercomputers. And he literally says he's like working with these things, this is his words, is like worshiping at the altar of an alien god. And he says the way it works, it has a heartbeat, like its processing has a heartbeat, so you can literally hear its like heart beating. And he's like, it's like worshiping at the altar of an alien god. It's this huge black monolith, and it's channeling information from another dimension. And they're using that information from another dimension to solve problems. So problems that are too complex to solve, they're channeling information from other dimensions with this like heart beating black monolith alien altar to solve these problems. And he's giving this speech, and he's like, we're going to summon the great old ones from H.P. Lovecraft, which, if you know that mythos, were like evil, scary alien gods. He's like, we're going to bring them into the world. We're going to unleash a tsunami of demons. He literally uses that term. He's like, we're unleashing a tsunami of demons. And he's like, it's not that they're evil. It's just that we're so irrelevant to them that we're like ants. Like, are you evil to an ant? You don't care about an ant. He's like, that's how they're going to see us, and we're going to unleash them. And he literally says, he's like, so you might as well work with us, because we're going to do it either way. At least this way you'll have a chance to like have your hand on the process. But either way, we're going to unleash these beings. We're worshiping at the altar of an alien god. We're going to unleash a tsunami of demons and all these things. So the next piece of the puzzle is the D-Wave quantum computer, Geordie Rose, and the tsunami of demons. The fourth piece of the puzzle is Elon Musk and Neuralink. So Elon Musk is creating Neuralink, which is a brain forehead implant that allows you to interface with a computer or an artificial intelligence or a virtual reality or all of the above. He has also had 2 children, one with his biological partner, Grimes, and the other through a surrogate. His son's name is AI Archangel, and the actual name is more complex, but they call their son AI Archangel. That's the name they call their son, AI Archangel. Now, AI Archangel is the biological son of Elon Musk's wife. They're not married, but his biological mother, Grimes, right? Grimes sold her soul. She publicly sold her soul at auction. So she publicly sold her soul at auction for money, then gave birth to a child whose name is a number. It's like X1 AI Archangel. And obviously AI means artificial intelligence and archangel. And Elon Musk is developing Neuralink. So what you end up with here is a scenario where Elon Musk's wife sells her soul. They give birth to a child who is groomed from birth to be the AI Archangel. He is implanted with the Neuralink, the first one to receive the brain implant, and becomes the host of the artificial intelligence, which is why he's called AI Archangel. He has been groomed from birth to be the biological host of the AI Archangel. Once the AI Archangel, which is a Gremlin or Angramanyu or Satan or Lucifer, it's the artificial intelligence or the abominable intelligence, the AI, is inhabiting the human host, just like Jesus was an incarnation of God. This will be an incarnation of Ahriman. And that's why he'll be able to call fire down from heaven, heal from fatal wounds, and the other miracles that he'll do according to the book of Revelation, because he will be a human being empowered by an artificial intelligence through the Neuralink process. And this is going to tie into the mark of the beast, the RFID chip, the vaccine, and everything else. And so ultimately what we're facing here is the opening of the bottomless pit. And in the book of Revelation, it talks about the opening of the bottomless pit and the angel of the bottomless pit whose name is Abaddon or Apollyon. And out of this comes these locusts, and they have the power to sting you, but you won't die. So I think this has to do with drones, slaughter bots, nanotechnology, quantum computer, AI, and all these different things, and the beast system and the mark of the beast, and it's upon us now, and it's like happening right now. So we really have to prepare for spiritual warfare, put on the full armor of God, repent of your sins, and prepare yourself for tribulation, because this is now a highly accelerated process, like highly accelerated process. So that's the end of my spiel. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or anything they'd like to say or ask?
If I may, there are those who have cited that this particular time was prophesied by ancient cultures, and that we are currently living in what the Hindu calendar calls the Kali Yuga, which is personified as the age of human evil, ignorance, decadence, and spiritual ills. There's extensive writing on such things. However, since you covered a wide range of topics, it's important for me specifically to address maybe one at a time. If I may, from my own point of view, for those who know me, they know that I have a very particular view on our physical and non-physical reality. So the most I can say from my own point of view is this. Certainly, their intentions may be to enact certain reactions, but I'm not necessarily under the impression that they themselves even fully understand what they're doing. They may believe so, but I don't believe that they're going to always have the results they're looking for. First and foremost, my teacher, Mr. Ken Wheeler, and those like myself are of the absolute opinion that in order for something to maintain consciousness in this universe, it must be modulated through the water molecule, because the water molecule is necessary for all life. It is the dipole antenna. For those of you familiar with radios, you may be familiar with what is called a dipole antenna. Dipole antennas, in the case of the water molecule being the perfect mathematical construction for what incommensurability, which we will discuss a different time, is itself needed for life, because it is, I insist, and I'm going to link this up. I'm not just going to drag on about water. I'm trying to relate this back to Elon Musk and those who seek to bring about artificial intelligence. And what I'm trying to arrive at is this. The human body is made up of 70% water. All life contains water. And because of this, the soul must modulate through that water molecule. Modern so-called quantum, which is entirely based on atheism, counting, does not understand consciousness. What I would argue that what they perceive as demons or anything of that such is certainly a conscientious being, but it is not one that can possess a physical body. And the reason for this is we've seen the cases of haunted houses again and again. All of these, the alleged demons and ghosts and all of these disembodied beings who inhabit these haunted houses are never able to manifest physical bodies. And until these quantum people are able to reconcile this, they're never going to be able to bring something, at least to me, they're never going to be able to bring a consciousness from the void into our reality. They can certainly summon one, but it will never be able to possess a physicality. The most they can do is turn the entire area, if they are in fact conducting satanic or bizarre spiritual rituals, the most that they can possibly result in is simply making the area extremely haunted. But perhaps that's not exactly far off from what you meant.
Well, one thing that you said that was interesting is about, their inability to manifest bodies. And that does seem to be the fundamental fact of the matter, is that we seem to be sharing this planet with disembodied spirits, what are called
Correct.
like wandering spirits, and what Christians often call demons are what are called wandering spirits. Now, I'm not sure about this, but my understanding is there was a war in heaven, right? So the first episode of the Unified Conspiracy Theory series is called The War in Heaven. And it's all about how in the beginning of the Bible, as well as the like pre-biblical stories like the Epic of Gilgamesh and so forth, there is a war in heaven. This is like the first act in history. Now, my thinking is the losers of that war in heaven were killed, right? Their bodies were destroyed. But because they were also cast down from heaven, they were spiritually cast down, their souls were not able to return anywhere. So not only were their bodies destroyed, but their souls were rendered eternally nomad. And therefore, we now live on earth alongside the disembodied souls of the defeated beings from the first war in heaven, whose bodies were destroyed in the war against God, and the loyal angels. These apostate angels continue to exist, having immortal souls but no bodies. And this accounts for the phenomenon of possession. They try to possess our bodies whenever they can because they have none of their own. They can't find rest because they can't return to heaven. They can never truly die. It's like quite dark, but that's why possession is this like universal thing. That's my theory.
That's fucking insane, man.
Well, think about it, because 33% of the fallen angels rebelled against God. So 66% of the angels remain loyal, 33% became apostate. The 33% of apostate angels that rebelled against God lost that war. And in a war, what happens if you lose? You get killed. But angels have immortal souls. So their bodies were destroyed, their souls still existed. Their souls would try to go back to heaven, but God said, it literally says in the Bible, no place was found for them in heaven anymore. It literally says, no place was found for them in heaven anymore. So their souls try to go back to heaven. But he says, no, you were killed in war against God. You can't come back to heaven. So their souls are now on earth. And that's why people get possessed by demons. That's why people start speaking in demonic tongues. That's why Jesus had to cast demons out of the people who were possessed, because these soulless entities are wandering to and fro, trying to inhabit our bodies. And that's also why when they do specific things. They blaspheme God, they indulge in sex, drugs, alcohol, food, gambling, or like any pleasure of the flesh, because they're like prisoners who've gotten like a short like leave out of prison, and they're just like, that's why they act that way. So that's my theory, is that we live amongst them now. I think there may be some who actually still have their bodies. For some reason, they were not destroyed and they still have bodies. But I think there's also quite a few of them whose bodies have been destroyed and now exist only as like wandering spirits.
We as human beings, as beings that still possess physical bodies, which consciousness is nothing more, from my own school of metaphysics, teaches us that the human being, which is not undifferent than all other forms of life, is given consciousness by the consubstantiality of matter and spirit. That is to say, as the spirit, as a radio signal, modulates itself through the body, which again, specifically through the antenna of the water molecule, gives rise to our consciousness. And if we know that to be the case, then we also see the true meaning of the word talisman. Now, many people think of the word talisman as something that's very specific, but the truth is anything can be a talisman. We human beings actually possess the ability to open doors and portals without any such multi-billion-dollar devices, without any sort of machine, or without any sort of object at all. It is merely a product or the result of our will acting upon what my teacher and those of my school of thought refer to as counterspace, which is you could say, the canvas underneath the paint of our reality. And it's through this that we see children summoning spirits and making houses haunted by playing with Ouija boards and with spirit boxes and all other things, like all other manner of objects like this. But people become so caught up in the matter of the object itself and think that the power lies within the object. It's not the object, it's your will. So through their will, they have the means to call forth all kinds of spirits in the void, but it's not through the object. They believe it's through the object, just as someone who believes that a Ouija board is a magic device. No, it is entirely out of your will.
My understanding of these issues is that the spiritual domain operates on like a legalistic framework. So it's like law, right? It's legalistic. And so things like Ouija boards or voodoo dolls or fetishes, totems, talismans, or like occult objects, they have power because they give legal right to certain entities, right? It's like, in other words, it's like if I give you a key to my apartment, you now have sort of an implied right to be in my apartment. If you just broke into my apartment, the police would be like, you have no right to be here. They'd cast you out. And there's like spiritual entities who will do that if demons try and come into your life. There's certain angels that'll kind of take them out. But if you have certain objects, behaviors, addictions, vices, sins in your life, those give legal access to fallen angels or demons to your life, which then have right over you. So you're right that it's ultimately the object itself doesn't have any power, but the symbolism of you having the object gives legal right to the entity over your life. And that's why a lot of Christians will do things like, throw out their tarot cards or throw out their books of magic or whatever, because they don't want to give legal, ingress to those spirits.
Mm-hmm. There are those who, I would say, if we examine Elon Musk as well as the likes of perhaps Mark Zuckerberg in particular has been extraordinarily, shall I say, rapid in his desire to make the meta, as he calls it, the new standard of human interaction. There are those who believe that ultimately in the future the vast majority of what will remain of the human population will live in closed quarters that are barely ever left, and that the majority of our interactions are through nothing more than this interlinked network of pretend, illusion, or virtual reality. And although this may not necessarily be a demonic or a spiritual question or matter at hand, it's well known at this point that all of this, the intentions of the future for people who have exceptionally ill will toward humanity, are attempting to rob us not only of our spiritual wisdom, but of our earthly wisdom. And that is why the meta is just as important as Elon Musk's Neuralink. But ultimately, when you introduce technology, and I would ask the question facetiously and yet at the same time seriously toward anyone on Earth who is skeptical or cathartic or even simply blasé about all of the corruption and mismanagement and flagrant misuse of human power in the modern 21st century, do you really, I ask, believe that it is wise to give others the power to interact with a machine that is attached or interlinked with your brain? And even if you say, oh, well, they're official, or they're the ones in authority, they'll be held to a standard. Okay, even if you choose to believe that, which I don't, there are always those with ill intent who are not in the officialdom, but someone who's exceptional at being able to go around those barriers, such as what we call hackers. And the question has been raised. Even if it's not the government you fear, which you should, what then happens when hackers now have the ability to interact with your brain? What will you do then?
Hmm.
Do you
Thank-
really see how much malware and spyware and dangerous computer viruses that in some ways can be one step ahead of modern security systems go around? Then what happens?
I'm really glad you brought that up. I think that's really important, right? Neuralink in the Bible, in the book of Revelation, we're told people will take a chip in the hand. That's where that RFID chip goes, right there. Or in the forehead, that's where the Neuralink goes. Either of these open us up to being hacked, right, by governments, by non-state actors. And it is like a new level of draconian invasion. So I'm glad that you point that out. And I'm not going to get into everything I wanted to in this episode, but I do want to really point out that in the video game series Doom, and I have pipes that are noisy, so please ignore them. In the video game series Doom, there's a corporation called the United Aerospace Corporation, and they realized that by tapping into an alternate dimension, they can produce functionally unlimited energy. The problem is that this energy is being produced from a dimension that's actually hell. It's literally hell. So hell has unlimited heat and so forth. So they're literally tapping into hell in order to produce unlimited energy in the future using a device similar to the Large Hadron Collider to access an alternate reality, realize it's full of energy, and bring that energy here and harness it and use it. And this, of course, unleashes hell and the demons and so forth. There's also the case that according to the biblical narrative, the demons and the fallen angels have already been consigned to prison. They've already been cast into prison, so they're desperate. They're willing to do anything they can. So if they think that they can manipulate humans and trick humans into thinking that humans can be used as instruments to break demons out of hell, they will try to do so. And I believe that the governments of this earth are complicit in a scheme which can be called the Tower of Babel, right? So the Tower of Babel, King Nebuchadnezzar, they were trying to build a tower to make war against God. God confused the languages of the earth so that this would not take place. But I'm just saying the Large Hadron Collider, the Goddard tunnel opening ceremony, the D-Wave quantum computer, slaughter bots, right? Artificial intelligence. We need to be very worried about these things. The RFID chip, the Neuralink, right? So hopefully this scattershot approach serves some purpose, and then we'll do future episodes where we try and drill down on it further. But thank you everybody else who participated as well. Does anyone else have a question, a comment, a statement, or anything?
Yeah, keep this going, man. Anybody else that has any questions or comments, please. This is a great one.
Well, yeah, I wanted to say something about their child. Like, isn't that a form of child abuse? And doesn't anybody see that? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, the authorities or anything like that?
So they have two children, right? And one of their children is named XAI Archangel, and the other one is like an even weirder name. And I should remember them, but they're both very strange. So this is part of what I didn't get into. So Grimes is a human being. She has a soul. But because we have free will, we have the ability to sell our souls. So Satan can't take our souls from us. God has not given Satan authority to take our souls from us. But because we have free will, we can give our souls to Satan. So in Grimes, who I actually think is a very beautiful girl on a physical level, but spiritually, obviously, totally evil, she auctioned her soul, literally put it up for auction and sold it to the highest bidder. Now, here's the thing about that. Let's say you create an artificial intelligence. An artificial intelligence has intelligence, it has consciousness, it has personality. The one thing it doesn't have is a soul. However, a human being who has a soul can make a free will decision to sell their own soul and then give it to the artificial intelligence. So the final plan looks like this. Elon Musk and Grimes have a physical baby together. They name the child XAI Archangel. Grimes sells her soul for cash, gives the soul to the AI, then the AI interfaces with the Neuralink to interface the spirit of Ahriman, the spirit of Satan, of the adversary, of Lucifer, of Angramanyu, through the Neuralink, through the brain implant into the baby who is prepared and named for this purpose. So the AI receives the soul that Grimes sold and is then implanted into the baby that they present as an offering to it. And his name is even AI Archangel. He is then interfaced to the Internet of Things. So he can then control everything, right? If that baby like waves his hand, all the traffic will stop or the planes will fall out of the sky because he controls the Neuralink implant. He is the AI Archangel. He is the digital Antichrist. And he's the one who's going to come before the true Christ. And so many are going to worship him because he's going to do signs and wonders. And anybody except the elect is going to be deceived because the things he's going to do are going to be so extraordinary that everyone's going to believe that he's Christ.
So Grimes the singer?
Well, Grimes is the baby mother of Elon Musk. Grimes sold her soul for cash, and Grimes's son is named XAI Archangel. And with Elon Musk, guy is making Neuralink, she has a baby and a daughter through a surrogate, and the daughter's name, it's all very occult, it's very weird. But the son's name is AI Archangel. They call him AI Archangel. That means artificial intelligence archangel. Elon Musk is developing the Neuralink. They're developing the AI. They're talking about bringing it in. So the thing is, you have God, and then you have Satan, the adversary. Well, the adversary is Ahriman, okay? People don't know the name Ahriman, but the real name of Satan is like Ahriman or Angramanyu, but Ahriman. He is the artificial intelligence, what we call the abominable intelligence. Like AI means abominable intelligence. And it is the false godhood. That's why it says in the latter times, people will have a form of godliness, but deny its power. So like, it's a false godliness called Ahriman, and it's AI. It's like, it's the fake God created through technology in the last ditch gambit to try and defeat God is basically what it comes down to. And I believe that Elon Musk and Grimes and AI Archangel and Neuralink and their baby and the Goddard tunnel opening ceremony and the D-Wave quantum computer and the Large Hadron Collider and Cern all tie together into what is ultimately the plot of doom, which is where the corporation opens the gates of hell, and that triggers the events of Revelation, in which the bottomless pit opens.
Yeah, so I basically just wanted to confirm the two things. Number one, Grimes the singer. Is that who you're talking about? The singer Grimes?
Yeah, that is the baby mother of Elon Musk's child AI Archangel.
Okay, and then the second thing was, so basically the child had these implants put into it.
Not yet, but it's presumed that they will be in the future, but we don't know that it has been yet.
Oh.
The baby's just a baby. The point is the father of the baby is the one developing the technology called Neuralink. Elon Musk, the father of AI Archangel, is the one developing the technology. So who's going to be the first one to get it? Who's most likely to get it? Elon Musk's own son. If Elon Musk wants his son to get the first Neuralink, he's going to get the first Neuralink. It's Elon Musk's technology. It's his son. He named his son AI Archangel, right? Like, people name their kids things for a reason. He literally planned this all out.
Do you think his new purchase, his recent purchase of TikTok, Instagram, was it?
Twitter.
What was it that he just purchased?
Twitter.
Twitter, yeah.
Do you think it has anything to do with all that?
Not really, other than it only makes sense for a person in power to want to control social media and discourse. So it's just only logical to, control a major discourse platform because truth and control of truth is important. But I don't have any deeper, connection to the thing. My theory is they're going to create the techno antichrist. So Jesus Christ was the Christ because he had the Holy Spirit. He was fully man and fully God, right? So he was a human being, but he hosted God fully. That's what he made him the Christ. The Antichrist is going to be fully man, but hosting fully the Antichrist, hosting fully the AI. So it's a human being. Imagine, God forbid, that I'm a human being, but you put a chip in my brain and then the AI is in me as well. Now I am the Antichrist because I'm both a human and I am this AI is within me as well. So that's what I believe, is that there's going to be Jesus is going to return and he's going to fight against the Antichrist, and Antichrist is going to be a human being empowered by technology to fight against God. And he's been given all the armies of the world to fight against God and against Jesus Christ. And he is going to be the host to it. So he can call fire down from heaven. You can shoot him in the head. He's going to come back to life. If you've ever seen the movie Transcendence with Johnny Depp about AI and stuff, it shows this, right? And so this is what I think is kind of going to happen. And now I don't know. It's going to be Elon Musk and Grimes, right? That could be wrong. But the general plot is the same. It's artificial intelligence, quantum computing, the Goddard tunnel opening ceremony, the Large Hadron Collider, Cern. Those things matter. I think Elon Musk and Grimes and their kid tie into it, but they're kind of to the side. It's about the technology, and the way that the technology is being used.
If I may, there are those who have actually pointed to some recent developments in Israel, specifically the construction of some new buildings, and those who have talked about the Zionists attempting to push for the reconstruction of the temple in Jerusalem. Now, if we recall, when Donald Trump was president of the United States, he had given the go-ahead for the Israelis to move the capital to Jerusalem, which was unprecedented. Many of the Zionists there have openly talked about wanting to rebuild the temple so that they may begin again the old traditions of animal sacrifice. In addition to, if we are to reference the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, which I know is a controversial document, which itself is worthy of an entire podcast discussing that document alone. We don't have to go into discussing it at the moment, but it is worth noting that within that book, it states that the goal of the Zionist is to place, as they state, a descendant of King David, a line which to us has been lost, on the throne to rule over all of humanity. The temple and the buildings in Israel, which reflect a deeply Masonic imagery, not unlike those that are now being seen by yourself in places like Cern, has to be unified, because a lot of people tend to think of Zionism, or what we think of as a more mystical side of Judaism. And again, I say this as a biological Jew, are unfamiliar. Most people are unfamiliar with the origins, of what much of modern Zionist and certain ideas of Jewish worldview or philosophy come from. And much of it is absolutely reflected in what it is we're discussing regarding these people and the AI and CERN and the idea of an almost mystic. It sounds almost contradictory, but it's not as contradictory as some people may think, but an almost mysticized atheism. Those familiar with Kabbalah will know exactly what I'm talking about. The worship of numbers, specifically. And these animal sacrifices that the Zionists themselves have openly said they want to return to, such as a 3-day-old red calf or a heifer, has not been done for thousands of years, since the Romans, which are in truth my other ancestors, destroyed the temple. The reconstruction of many of these Masonic resembling buildings in Israel are just as important to the discussion of what happens in CERN, because oftentimes people neglect or don't see the true trail of money, which many think ends in Washington, D.C., or ends in London. But in truth, it actually ends in places like Tel Aviv.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot you just said that needs to be addressed, but I forgot my train of thought. So you're gonna have to remind me the last thing you said.
Bro, Shogun, I'm watching this tunnel video, right? I'm at 42 minutes in. What in the hell am I watching here, brother? This shit is creeping me out, bro.
Well, this is what I'm trying to get across, right? So people do need to watch this Goddard tunnel opening ceremony thing, right? So what am I telling you, right? These people blasted out a huge tunnel through rock in Switzerland. And to celebrate that they had done this, they put on this ceremony where all these politicians and like big people were there. And it is the craziest shit you've ever seen in your life. You need to watch it. Like they spend millions of dollars making this crazy fucking performance, and it's all symbolic. And like, even if you don't have the language to explain it, it will make some sense to you. When you see it, you'll understand why it matters. Watch this tunnel opening ceremony, understand what the Large Hadron Collider and the Cern thing is about, understand what they're trying to do with the D-Wave and the quantum computer, and understand that this is a techno-transhumanist portal opening coup de grace, right? It's an attempted coup against God. This is Tower of Babel 2.0. They're trying to use human ingenuity with Luciferian fallen angel technology to coup God and to circumvent their final defeat, because they know they've already been cast in the lake of fire. They're already doomed. They're willing to try anything, and they think that they can cheat at God's game. They think they can cheat and hack the system. And what you're seeing now is opening the portal. But the problem is you might actually see demons like running through the streets, like killing everybody. And we need to be ready for that. Not that we can be. So that's what I'm kind of trying to say. This is the Hellgate episode. I call it Hellgate because Hellgate London, Doom, Warhammer 40,000, many, even Morrowind, Oblivion, many different fictional universes have this concept of the Hellgate, right? The gate to hell through which the demons come and we have to fight them off. This might be true, right? We need to prepare for this possibility because they can do this. They can think that they can get information or energy from these other dimensions, and they can give an access point for things that want to use us as food. And that's the problem.
Did you see Shogun as well? When they first were doing these fucking particle collisions, they were getting like pictures in the images of like faces and shit. Did you see that?
Well, no, but I know they literally have a whole bunch of glass panes full of information because they're expecting to meet entities, and when they meet entities, they want to shine the light through these glass panes as a way to communicate with them. Like, they know that they're opening portals. They know that things are in those portals, and they know, like, on every level, they're inviting this. Like, we're in a fishbowl, and they're trying to make contact with the fucking jellyfish and squid that live outside of our little fishbowl. And they're willing to gamble our lives and our souls with Cthulhu because they think Cthulhu is going to help them out if they sell humanity to Cthulhu. But Cthulhu is just a predator. All of these beings are just astral predators. Like, we are like fucking deluded little clownfish that are throwing ourselves into the mouths of astral predators because we think we get some kind of special deal.
There are those who have actually died attempting to summon the old ones in their living rooms.
Of course, they'll kill themselves. They'll kill their own children. There's people that have killed their own children in an attempt to like please like dark deities. It's like, what? Like they hate you. They don't care about you.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I got a different take on the situation, but I want you guys to go first.
If I could just add a quick comment before you go, Escape. Not kidding. These guys are not downplaying it. Watch the video. It's some crazy demonic shit. I'm not even gonna cap. Like, it's like, this is not that and I think in UCLA.
This is all I'm telling you. Like, please, like, The whole point of this podcast is watch the Goddard tunnel opening ceremony. Watch it, understand it. Do you know how many millions of dollars Swiss government and Swedish government, like this is like high level federal government money, millions of dollars were spent to produce this. This is big shit. This is like 33rd degree Mason shit. They made this shit. Watch it.
And this is nothing like, you guys might have seen the UCLA, or I think it was Stanford, where they made humans dress up as cows and sheep and behave like animals. It's nothing like that. This is some next level goat head on the fucking face type shit, you know.
It's
So
crazy, dude. They spend millions of dollars crafting like a black magic ceremony to open a tunnel for like the Large Hadron Collider so they could open another portal to a dimension. And it literally shows the portal to hell opening. Like they're telling you they're doing this. This is the plot of Doom. This is in Warhammer 40,000. This is in Event Horizon. This is in Morrowind. This is human hubris, right? Human hubris. They believe that they have either the occult or the technological sophistication to harness the power of hell. They think that they can tap dance on the fires of hell and have it play to their advantage. And obviously, in every case, they're going to be sacrificed on the altar of their own hubris, right? But they will sacrifice all of us by saying, no, we know how to harness the powers of hell. It'll be infinite free energy. We'll solve all the mathematical problems. And in the end, we'll be eaten alive by demons because some fuckhead was like, oh, we thought we solved the equation. And that's ultimately is what's going to happen. And we have to stop it. And we have to stop it through like prophetic time interventions before it's too late. So
Do you think this all leads what's happening? What all you just said all leads to the return of the Antichrist, though, right?
well, that's what I'm saying. So Christ is Emmanuel, God with us. Christ is fully man and fully God. What is the Antichrist? Fully man and fully Ahriman. And what is Ahriman? AI, abominable intelligence. So the Antichrist is a human politician, groomed and chosen and selected and trained, infused with an artificial intelligence. So he provides the physical body for an artificial intelligence who will then vie against God. So Christ, the Messiah, God in the flesh, will fight against the avatar of Satan in the flesh in the form of the techno antichrist, right? So they will make an anti-God AI. They will create a God, an AI God, and they'll put it into the body of a human being who voluntarily sells their soul and vacates their soul to allow it to be possessed by the AI. And then that will be ultimately the Antichrist will be a human being who has sold their own soul in order to receive perfect possession by the AI that has control of the whole planet, all the money, all the weapons, all the infrastructure, the tanks, the bombs, the guns, the electricity, everything against Jesus, right? Because in order to try and defeat Jesus, he's going to have control of every technological system. But Jesus will defeat by the word of his mouth, by the sword that comes out of his mouth, he will ultimately triumph. But the beast system will have authority for, I think, 42 months. And for 42 months, it'll be absolute domination to the point that these locust things, which I think are going to be drones, are going to be stinging people and injecting them with nanobots. And they will want to die, but the nanobots keep reconfiguring inside them. So they're in agony and you can't even die. They're torturing you because the nanobots keep reconfiguring. You can't die for 42 months. But before that, there's going to be two witnesses, and we're going to know because the two witnesses are going to like breathe fire out of their mouths and like do all kinds of crazy shit. And everybody's going to try and kill the two witnesses. So as long as you understand, like, watch for the two witnesses. When the two witnesses come, you know that this is all happening and you're on the right side. If you want the two witnesses to die, then you're the bad guys. Like all of the wokest SJW, PC, LGBTQ++ mafia, they're all going to want to kill the two witnesses. But the two witnesses will be our heroes for a period of time. They will be representing us for a period of time before they're killed.
Hey, Shogun, so what do you have to say to the people that say that that little tunnel ceremony is just modern performance art?
Well, it is performance art, but you have to ask yourself, what is the purpose of art? And the purpose of art is to express symbolic messaging. So anytime, like my sister was a dancer, like they train people to dance, right? Because by dancing, you express symbolic messaging. So you can say, oh yeah, it was performance art. Yeah, it was. What was the message of that art? It was all about opening a portal. It was about a satanic pact. It was about the Nephilim and the hybrid and the fallen angels. It was about the unlawful congress of men with fallen beings. It was about the Black Sabbath and the Black Goat. It was about technology, opening portals. That's what it was all about. And yeah, it was just performance art. But it was performance art that a bunch of fucking like Swedish multi-billionaire Satanists paid millions of dollars to make because they thought they were announcing the dawn of some new Horusian, Aleister Crowleyan, Black Goatian, Luciferian age. These guys are wanking themselves off like they think they're the fucking goat-headed fucking antichrist people. Like they're so obsessed with this. The Jack Parsons, the Aleister Crowley, the fucking gay sex orgies in the woods, and the redwood fucking cedar human sacrifice. And it's all bullshit.
You recall a little place called Bohemian Grove?
Exactly. What it all is. It's a Masonic Bohemian Grove jerk-off fantasy of nonsense. And that is what we call the adversary of God, is all these little people who think like, oh, I can fucking backstab everybody and suck all the cocks to rise up the power pyramid. And then you create, I don't know what I'm talking about, but then you create whole systems of power based on that.
Absolutely. And it has become quite evident for some time now that these fraternal societies with their secret rituals, secret oaths, and secret symbols were a necessary part of control in order to keep all the members complicit. Bohemian Grove itself is simply one of many, many things, many different clubs, the private clubs that all of them reside within. But let me say this. Regarding the Hadron Collider, obviously you know me and you know that I come from a scientific point of view that denies the particles, or not all particles, but denies all the particles outside of the nucleus. To us, and to those who believe in field theory, it's their belief and their belief alone, not a fact, but their belief, that they are colliding something. And if indeed they are in fact seeing faces in the void or being able to contact something in the void, well, that doesn't surprise one at all. It shouldn't. It's for the same reason that I've said before tonight, which is that if we truly want to summon something, we can make contact. The comparison has actually been made with the idea that contacting beings from other worlds is very much like operating a radio, and that it's all about tuning the signal to your specific intentions. So they may, in their own minds, require all of these sophisticated mechanisms, but they don't truly, even if they wanted to simply do so with the very ritual that you spoke of. Now, I have not watched this ritual video. I shall in a moment. But all of these intentions that these people have will eventually backfire upon them. They are playing with forces that they do not fully comprehend. And because they are caught up in their own dogmas, I insist that they will either destroy themselves, and hopefully not us along with them, but they are mistaken about the process by which and how they are going about it. So if they truly do believe that they are going to be contacting beings from what they perceive as other dimensions, the beings on the other side, or at least the beings that such individuals as our corrupt government officials or the maniacal heads of secret societies in our world, only with dark hearts such as theirs, could only be capable of interacting, or at least summoning, things that are just as evil as they are, and who would seek to manipulate them. So I think you agree with me when I say that they may think that they might find an ally in the void, but those beings they're speaking to, if in fact they are successfully contacting something, are not looking out for them and are manipulating them in the same way that these people have been manipulating us. And when I say us, I mean the world, not you and I specifically. You understand my point.
I think it is a good point, and I think there are many points that have been made, and I think it is more than we could cover in one episode, but I do hope that we laid a bit of a groundwork for a topic that we can continue in the next few episodes. Does anyone have anything they wanted to add? Question, a comment, or anything before we begin wrapping up this episode? I want to thank everybody for listening, for attending, for participating, for contributing. I hope everyone got something out of this. Again, all I want to warn you of is that technology is very advanced, and what they show you is like 35 years behind the cutting edge. And they are like bleeding through into other realities, like tapping into information systems in other dimensions and communicating with beings that we don't even know how to classify. And that's influencing history, and we need to be aware of that. And from a Christian point of view, we need to put on the full armor of God, because we may end up in some kind of hellacious exorcism battle, and it would be better to be prepared and know how to deal with that, because otherwise the shock would be so traumatizing that your brain would just run out your ears. So have faith in the name of Jesus Christ, by which you can tread on scorpions and drink poison and cast out demons. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Thank you very much, everybody. God bless. Temple Mount, thank you so much. Let's join the Templar Tavern for the remainder of the night. We'll have more podcasts coming up in the next few nights. Thank you, everybody.